Okay, so I think we can go ahead and begin. So hopefully the audio is okay. Hopefully the music is not too loud. Let me know if it is in the chat. So welcome. So this is Hostos Arcade. So we have a so thank you for coming. It's an event around the final presentations for Game Studio. So Game Studio is our capstone course in our game design program. So we have a 2-year game design program that covers all the different aspects of game development. So it's at Hostos Community College in the South Bronx. And so this event is typically in person, but due to the pandemic, everything has been remote. So the class got together and decided that we should have a Twitch stream. And so we're going to stream all of the presentations from the class. So it was a small class. There were only 4 groups in it. So it was about, let's see, the semester before had like 29 students in it, and this one it ended up with 9 total. So a huge change in the scale. We lost some students along the way, unfortunately. And yeah, so it's been a very, very challenging semester. The effects of the pandemic have heavily affected our students, our communities, our program. So a lot of the challenges that our students face have been amplified during this time. So things like poor internet connections and poor access to technology. So a lot of our students didn't have computers capable of running game development software, and so we had to get computers out there, had to get hotspots out there. Most of our students work, and remote learning has been hard all around. So in this course, like, they are trying to utilize all of the skills they've developed in the program into one significant project. And so most of the students in this class and my other classes, they've never even seen each other. So it's pretty hard to work together in a group when you've never even met people, right? Like, sort of working in such a large project through a conference call effectively. So it's really challenging. Games are very complex, and so kudos to students who are able to work through that. And so I think it's important to acknowledge the challenges that we face, celebrate our victories, no matter how large or small. And so we have 3 presentations for you today. So I'm just going to go ahead and get them started, and hopefully my setup doesn't crash like it was doing repeatedly before I started streaming. So let's hope that everything is intact. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I will turn off the music, and let's see. Everyone cross your fingers, please. Remote crossing of the fingers. I'm not going to be checking if your fingers are crossed, but please, it will come through. If it crashes, I'm going to blame you. So here we go.
This is postmortem for construction ants. At the beginning of the game, the player will be in an obstacle area that looks like an underground ant colony. The mission or goal is for the player to get past obstacles while collecting items to build a house. The first week of conceptualizing, which would be basic drawings and outlines of construction ant, our goal is to have a complete visual and understanding of how the game will look. A document from beginning to end was written. By the second week, our goal was to be working on a prototype in Unity or any other program. We wanted to have something to play test, a level design, and how the ant colony would actually look. First prototype was movement, jumping, and at least to have a complete map. Different sketches were done. For example, we have water here, an idea for a menu, but the menu could actually be done in Unity. I actually like how this does this. These are different things. This was a first sketch prototype of the ant. I didn't like this, it was too solid, so I went with something more like this. But for the purpose of this assignment, it doesn't have to be perfect and right, so I went with what was practical. Sprites were created for tools and ants, so that was the water puddle in the dirt. Followed by tools and map adjustment. Harold, my classmate, was adjusting the map and the coding process, the mapping and coding process. So at this point, at least 65% of the game was complete. The week after that, 80% of the game was complete. During testing, there wasn't any feedback from anyone, but I think the game could have used more improvement based on what I saw. But under the constraints, we did what we had to do. Currently, sound will be added. So once the sound is added, it should be for, I think, different sounds for like what the environment would sound like, as far as like outside and outside sound, ambient sounds, construction sounds, what ants sound like when they're moving and like building, and just more practical sounds. Thank you. This is it pretty much. This is my postmortem, and this is currently what the game is like right now. Until completion.
Menu page song, which is the game song as well. The next step is adding hazards, which put some challenge into the game. I put a health system which it works. You're able to deplete your health and lose a life. But the next option I have is to add a win and fail screen. That is my next goal. And after that, I'm gonna have to put building the house. There's some little things I want to add, but so far everything's going great. You know, we've been working the game, try to see what works and don't works. But since taking this class, I'm still learning. I'm not the best at coding. I should say I'm still a beginner. But overall, I have learned a lot, and I know I still got a ways to go. But I've like when coding, I will struggle on a code, and the code would mess itself up, or Unity will be wonky sometimes. But I've learned to overcome some challenges and still use my code for my game. I'm still learning and I'm not the best, but overall, I feel like this game is going good. We're making good progress in the game, and I'm glad everything is going well.
Hey, my name is Randy Garcia, and I'm the lead designer to Happy Hour. Happy Hour is a multiplayer survival game where you and your opponent avoid obstacles to outlast each other. So for this project, we had to make a one-button game, and I feel that unless it's a puzzle game, most times movement is one of the most important, if not the most important, mechanic of a game. So if I was going to assign one action to this one button, I felt that something related to movement would be the best option. That's when we decided that this one button should be what switches your character's direction. Some games that influenced our project are Subway Surfer and Temple Run, because these are both survival games where you're avoiding obstacles. And QWOP is another game, QWOP. The reason why this game was also pretty influential to our project is because in this game, walking is the challenge, and we wanted the regular movement to be a challenge. So that's why we have your movement set to one button. For this project, it was just us three working on it. Me, Jay, and Abraham. The way we split the work is I would work on the model design, Jay would work on sound, and Abraham would work on the animations. Some of the challenges we've gone through in this project is having to do things we would be a little unfamiliar with or have zero experience with. In my case, I've used a program called Blender. I've used it to make a dice. So I took a cube and made a better looking cube pretty much. So that's about as far as my skills went. And this project really pushed me to do more and learn more. So I had to make the street, I had to make the buildings, taxi, and a lot of the obstacles you see in the game. And of course, coding was a challenge that we've had. We would try to get something to work, it wouldn't work, and then we would get together and try to figure it out. We've also struggled a bit trying to make the game balanced, not too hard for people to play. Making sure people don't fall within the first 2 seconds every single time, We did this by making the turning more responsive, and if certain conditions are met, if your character would fall, they have a chance to get back up.
Hi, my name's Ibrahim. I'm one of the 3 members that worked on Happy Hour. When I first heard of the concept of Happy Hour, I immediately thought of a game in my head. Everybody know what Subway Surfers is and Temple Run. As soon as I heard Happy Hour, the concept that was pitched by Randy, since he's the one that came up with the idea, When he pitched the idea, I immediately liked the idea and I saw something that was realistic that we could accomplish. Like Subway Surfers, Temple Run, Happy Hour is just an endless run. How in Subway Surfers you're just running to run, Temple Run you're running to run away from a monster, and in Happy Hour you're running to chase after a cab. In my opinion, our game is mainly based off of Subway Surfers, since you're just running and dodging obstacles left and right. Temple Run is more like you're going from you could go to different corners of the map, or you could switch your direction plenty of times. Subway Surfers, you're just running and you're moving left and right and you dodging objects, and that's the same core mechanics that we use in our game. In our game, you're running and you dodging the garbage bags on the street left and right and try to last the longest. Originally, we had it strictly as multiplayer game, but we realized during the quarantine and since classes are closed and we can't go in person to meet, it's hard for you to play at home with one person, and it's a 2-player game. You're going to be controlling 2 people at the same time, and that's going to be kind of hard. So we came up with the idea to implement a 1-player version of the game, which is it's literally the same thing, but you're not seeing as much as the map and you're not seeing the second player at all. So it's just you chasing yourself. Like all those other endless runner games, we wanted to add a score so you can compete with your friends and see who has the highest score after each run. Because I know with my brothers, any game we did, we try to compete, and even if it's not like the score stays, we always kept count of who had the highest score and how long we had the highest score from. So being able to see your score and keep track of who had that score, to me, made it more fun. For the early developments of the game, we wanted to start off with the core mechanics, which was just having a player rotate. So we just had the main character from Mixamo just as a placeholder. We had him in the middle. Anytime you press W or up on the keyboard, he will rotate left or right, depending on what direction he's facing. Once we had the scene for the game, we was able to start working on the player actually moving from one side of the sidewalk to the other side of the sidewalk. So anytime you press W or up on the keyboard, he'll go from one side to the other side depending on what way he's facing. Once we had that down packed, we add in the obstacles, which are the trash bags. Once we finished with all of that, we had a complete game and we felt like we could add more to the game. So we got some advice and we came up with an idea to make a drunk sway, because anytime when you're drunk, you're stumbling and you can't walk straight and you're swaying from left and right. So we implemented in the game a sway into the game. Anytime you see a red arrow, that means the character is just swaying to that direction. So it's your job as the player to control that sway and maneuver through the garbage bags that's on the sidewalk to last as long as you can. Originally, we had no arrows to tell you which way you was going, and we felt like that was kind of hard to judge which side your player is going to go on. So we came up with the idea to add the arrows, and which you see in the final version of the game, the arrows. When you see the green arrow, that means that you're controlling it. When you see a red arrow, that means the sway is going. As a new player to the game, it get kind of hard because you're dying immediately and you're still trying to learn the controls. And since you're new to the game, you're dying so fast, so you can't even adapt to the game. So we came up with the idea to implement a second chance. If you notice from playing the game, when you reach a certain point on the screen or on the sidewalk, when you fall, you're able to come back up, and that is the second chance option. Once you come back up, you would start back at the end of the screen where you originally started from, and you got to work your way all the way back to that point of the screen. If you die before hitting that point, then it is over. You don't get that second chance. You need to reach that point of the screen to be able to use that second chance or the second life. After adding that into the game, we felt like it was a more complete game. People was able to learn the game. There was a single and multiplayer option, so if you want to play with a friend or a buddy, you could, and if you just want to play by yourself and try to get the high score, you're able to. I wanted to thank everybody for watching this video and playing our game that we made in 3 months, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. So for that, I thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jay, and I'm one of the contributors to Happy Hour. So, some of the things that I want to talk about is mainly the rules that we set for ourselves when it came to time management and some of the research that we did, as well as some of the aspects of the game, like audio and some of the things that we did with the coding. Um, First off, the time management. We made sure that we met every week, and we set goals for ourselves in order to meet the standards that we wanted for every week. We always set a deadline for making things in order to make sure that we were on schedule for the final date that we were supposed to deliver the project. So every week we would set up, okay, what do we need next? Do we want to add more assets? Do we want to add more audio? Do we want to make sure that the game looks crisper, or make sure that some of the sound effects are not messed up? Do we want to add more code? Are the animations working correctly as they're supposed to? And every week we would make sure that whatever play testing that we did, and whatever play testing other people did, and the feedback that we got, we made sure that we would tackle those and make those the goal for whatever we were ending at that week. And the meetings and everything else around that was what made us stay on schedule. The research that we did was mainly about the drunken part. Mostly, we looked up what exactly could look kind of disorienting, and when we would code, we could add in order to make it somewhat disorienting. While the end product is not exactly what we wanted, with the post processing making the your vision very blurred and very shaky. We still managed to make something that kind of disorients you in a way with the drunk animation walk, as well as how random the actual movement from left to right is for each character. So whenever you're going forward and pressing your keys in order to go left or right, randomly the game calculates if it wants to go left or right, and you have to balance yourself in order to make sure that you stay within the bounds of the actual street and don't end up falling or going behind the other player, or if you're playing single player, going as far as you can, and earning the highest score that you can. We wanted to make sure that the players were on their feet, basically always on edge, making sure that they didn't miss a button press, because you never know when exactly the turns are going to change, when the character is going to change direction and all that, right? So yeah, we got to make sure to keep yourself on your toes so that you're able to dodge everything that comes towards you. And yeah, that's part of the research that we did. We wanted to make it a little bit disorienting, and with the randomness and the drunk walk, we managed to make it at least somewhat that way. Another thing was some of the audio that we decided to go with. We wanted to go with something, a little bit of beat, not too serious. Make sure that we're making light fun of our game, even though this is a very serious project, and we want to make sure that we take it seriously and everything within it works. We wanted to go with a lighthearted mood, and with the music that we set up for ourselves, we made it a little fun. We made sure to have fun with it, and the same with the sound effects that we put for the characters when they fall. They sound very goofy, kind of making fun of our game, which we recorded actually, but yeah, we're just making fun of it. And some of the issues that we ran into early on with audio and all of these were that they would glitch from time to time. Audio wouldn't play correctly. The file formatting seems to be a little bit off when it comes to Unity, when it comes to putting MP3s instead of WAV files. But we were able to sort it out, and luckily it sounds pretty decent, and I'm happy with how it turned out. When it came to some of the programming liberties that we took, we made sure that we added some physics for the character in order to simulate all the falling, and made sure that we added some boundaries and collisions to many of the objects within the game, so that everything feels like it's part of the game. And so that you know that whenever you hit something, it's instant. You make sure that it registers that way. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy the game. Try it out and leave us some feedback. Let us know what you think about whether it is the audio, the animations, the assets themselves that are within it. And yeah, have fun and see you guys next time.
Oh, you got caught lacking already.
Hello, my name is Tommy, and I am the main coder for Highs and Lows. Highs and Lows is a fighting game that focuses on the fact of hitting highs and lows in terms of hits. The concept of the game is to be a one-screen party game, which would be fun to play with friends and simple to play, so no need to be a pro to be good at it.
Get Wi-Fi anywhere you go.
Hold up.
There are two players in Highs and Lows. Player 1, which controls by WASD, Player 2, which controls by arrow keys. To win, simply, each player has to attack the opposing player's back, dealing 1 out of 3 damage to the opposing player. You know you have hit the player when a sound effect goes off, and one of your health bar decreases. After a player loses a life, the opposing player gains 1 W. First to 3 Ws win.
Hypothetically speaking.
The inspiration from this game came from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy the video game, which was an arena-style beat-em-up game, which gave us an idea of how we wanted our game to be one screen. Another inspiration was Mortal Kombat 11, a 2-dimensional fighting game, which inspired the name Highs and Lows, with one fighter fighting with his legs and the other fighter fighting with his hands. There are 4 scripts that make this game work. The main menu script, which is embedded to the start button, and the quit button, which allows you to play and quit the game, and also restart the game when a player wins. The player movement script for character 1 and 2, and the character stats for character 1 and 2, which allows the characters to move around and look in certain directions every time they move, and take damage depending if another character hits them. And last but not least, the score script, which keeps track of which player gets a point. The main menu script allowed me to assign buttons to load scenes such as the in-game screen or quit the game. This was done by allowing the player to click a button, and then when the player clicks the button, to load the in-game scene or to generally quit the game. Within the script is also an audio source script, which allows me to play the main menu music for the game. In the player movement script 1 and 2, there's many lines of code which allows the characters to move and look depending on which direction the player chooses. At first it was difficult to get the code to work, but with enough messing around, I finally got it to work. No thanks to Unity. In the character stats script 1 and 2, it allowed me to set a health system for the characters and set how many hits it would take for the character to attack. There is also an audio source code to allow the players to know when they hit a corresponding player, and a ton of test code I had for score and damage indicators. In the score script, this basically allowed the game to keep score of who was winning and losing. It also allowed me to set a win statement. If a player's score reaches 3, that player would win, and allowed either win screen 1 or win screen 2 to play to tell the player who won, depending on which score script you're looking at, from score script 1 to score script 2.
You're teasing me, you naughty.
Hello everyone, my name is Jose Susano and I was the one who created, modeled, and designed the donut for the game Highs and Lows. I initially wanted to make a human, but I found it a little bit difficult to create because it was the first time that I ever used Blender. So instead of doing a human, I decided to make a donut since I found it easier to make. Now the donut has a box on top of his head because I thought it was gonna be funny. He has churros as his arms and legs. Yeah, that's how I created the donut. I also helped create the main menu song for the game itself. I really wanted something relaxing, not something too complicated, so I just stitched it up, put it in there, and that was it. Just a very relaxing song, fitting for the main menu.
What's up?
My name is Taj and I will be talking about my character. I first made this character last semester when making a game with another group. It kinda just stuck with me. As the game is fast paced, I thought of a music where you can just go. Such as there's no time to think, just react. Lastly, I decided to put a winning sound for player 1 and player 2, so that when player 1 or 2 wins, they will feel that relief that they won.
God damn.
My thoughts about the game or creating the game? I really enjoyed myself working with the team. It was fun.
My thoughts about this game was fun, it was creative, and as I play tested it, it was broken this, but at the end of the day, it's still fun.
This game's trash. Oh, I mean, go play the game now on mrgoodvibes.itch.io/highs and lows. That's right, it's at mrgoodvibes.itch.io/highs and lows. It's free to play, no DLC, no subscriptions. Go now and play with the butter yourself. I don't judge. And make sure to leave a comment to fight back.
Okay, so yeah, those are our 3 presentations for today. So yeah, we have a diverse group there. All 3 projects were very different. And so yeah, I don't know if you all appreciated watching the videos. Again, this was a very, very challenging semester. It was the most challenging semester I've had as an instructor ever. And I'm sure most of the students would also say it was their most challenging semester ever. So yeah, if you enjoyed the videos, enjoyed seeing what our students have been doing, just let them know in the chat. They're here watching. So yeah, and if you want to check out any of these games, you can go to tinyurl.com/GameStudioF20. So the URL is at the bottom of here. So yeah, check them out. Let them know if you appreciated their work. And yeah, thank you for coming. Until next time. Bye.
Twice the size that